It's 5 minutes past 8 here on 101.5. It's time now for SportsFeva, your Thursday morning smorgasbord of sport. Morning to my colleague Peter Swampy Marsh.
Good morning, Matty. It hasn't been an absolutely wonderful week of sport.
Oh, don't we love our sport? Shield finals, a nerve-wracker. Some great swimming results for our local swimmers as well. Some local AFL we've got to talk about. Kilcoy races this weekend. We'll talk to our good friend Con Searle. But to kick off the show, we're joined on the line by the Dolphins number one season ticket holder. It's Rupert McCall. Morning, Rupert.
Good morning, boys. How are you?
We're very good here, mate. A little bit wet in the Moreton Bay region this week, but hopefully the sun is shining on Sunday when we see the mighty Dolphins do battle with the Ipswich Jets at Dolphin Oval.
Yeah, I got a little bit wet on Monday night in the Queensland Bulls dressing shed, wet with 4X gold. It was flying, spraying everywhere. I got tangled up in those celebrations, boys. So it has been a good week for Queensland, and it can be a better week in sport if the Dolphins come out firing on Sunday.
Just quickly on that Shield final, it was an absolute nerve-wracking. We'll be talking to Stevie Gray from the Queensland Cricket media man a little bit later in the show, but Queensland looked to be cruising, and then it all went pear-shaped when we lost a stack of wickets for no runs. But Chris Hartley and Steve McGoffin, the odd couple if they've been called, got us across the line, and as was pointed out, there's a bit of an omen for the Dolphins because the last time Queensland won a Shield, Troy Lindsay lifted the Queensland Cup for the mighty Dolphins.
That would be 2006, Matty. You're spot on there, mate. But Chris Hartley, you know, there was a lot of word, going out on the social network pages on Monday afternoon that he should stand for Premier this weekend because I reckon he's probably a shoo-in. The quality of his effort, and McGoffin as well. I mean, when they walked off the field, the photo on the front page of the Courier Mail this week looked a little bit like Norm Provan and Albert Summons, the big guy and the little guy. They got the job done. They got us off 88. Or he lost 4 wickets on 88, and we're feeling a little bit sick up in the stands. But Queensland has prevailed, boys, and they prevailed in 2006, as did the Dolphins. The first Shield victory in 1995, well, only a few months before that, the Redcliffe Dolphins, hoisted the Queensland Cup for the first time in a long time. So, yes, the omens are looking good.
Yeah, there are certainly no nervous times for the Redcliffe Dolphins on the weekend, though, Rupert. It was a dominant victory over Burleigh, and Joey Bond and the backs were certainly electric, weren't they?
They were, mate. It was a great victory. I mean, Burleigh are no easy beats, especially when you're playing down there in the conditions. It was a wet weekend. Talking to this silent assassin, my good friend Johnny Sloan, he knew they were in for a battle, but, the Dolphins blew them off the park in the first 20, 30 minutes, and it was a great effort. The forwards led the way, and the quality of the backs behind that with young Bondi, our answer to Matty Bowen, and a couple of the Bronco affiliates as well. Dane Gagai had a very strong match, and Luke Capel playing in red and white, which he's always wanted to do at the top level. They were inspirational.
Yeah, a bit of a funny story with Luke Capewell, of course, a Redcliffe junior, as we know, but always had a lot of talent, has skipped around to a few NRL clubs, and because of the affiliations with the Storm when he had to play for North, and then also when he was at the Bunnies, he played against Redcliffe at East, and also last year when he was with the Titans, he played for Ipswich, so always played against the red and white, but he's one of our own.
He is, mate. I reckon where he got a little bit of a little injection of what it was like to play with the Dolphins was in that residence game last year, pre-Origin 3, I believe it was, when Luke Capewell saddled up for the Queensland residence with Chris Farrell, with Nick Sliney, with Liam Georgetown, and he cut them apart that night, and all the Dolphins played well, and he must have thought, well, I wouldn't mind playing beside these blokes next year.
Speaking of those other Broncos affiliates, they've slotted into the Dolphins so well. They look like they've been sitting there for 2 or 3 years and linking with the regular first-grade side. How have you seen those guys slot in, Rupert?
So important, Marshy. It's one of those things that you can't guarantee, in the landscape of rugby league. The best players obviously are playing NRL, and some of them have to come back and play Queensland Cup, but it's not a matter of having to do it with the Redcliffe boys this year anyway. It's a matter of wanting to do it and put their best foot forward. I mean, Nick Sliney was never in any doubt. as you said, mentioned Luke Capewell. Dane Gagai, I mean, that's a great example of a kid who's probably disappointed he's not playing for the Broncos, but he's not going to, go off and spit the dummy and, put in a 75% effort for Redcliffe. He's given 100. He was really good on the weekend, and it'll be the same when David Haler comes back in a couple of weeks as well. There'll be another boost for Redcliffe. It really is a good sign.
Yeah, no, looking very promising for the Dolphins. And then we look ahead to Sunday, where they'll take on the Ipswich Jets. Now, it's the first time we'll get to see the Dolphins on the new Channel 9 coverage, but we still encourage people to get out to Dolphin Oval, because it's a great Sunday afternoon, isn't it, Root?
It is. It's a fantastic day. In between the hills, the sacred hills of Don McLennan, Des Webb, and Tosser Turner there at Dolphin Oval, and when they run out through the tunnel, those boys, they feel 10 foot tall and bulletproof, especially when there's a good crowd on hand to support them. It's great that the Queensland Cup games are being televised. It's great for rugby league in this state, and it'll be a good spectacle on telly as well. But it's a better spectacle when you're there, and especially for the people of the peninsula, to see these guys live in action. And I could have mentioned Aaron Whitchurch before as well, as part of that Bronco crew who's putting in the red and white. I don't want to leave anyone out, but it is going to be great. I mean, I just love being there. I love the smell of hot chips. The doubles, girls, giving you something as you walk through the door. Doreen Sloan, Sloaney's mum, just giving it to the referee on the sidelines in that beautiful Scottish voice of hers. There's an atmosphere that's been flowing through my veins ever since I was a kid, and now I'm taking my own kids there. And this is a very important game, boys. We're 2 from 2, but the Jets, they're none from 2. They've only lost narrowly, and they'll be absolutely desperate for a victory. So it's going to be on for young and old. They got us last year with a penalty after full time, so we need to pay them back on that one. And besides, they've got a little red-headed water boy who runs the water for them, who's a bit of a mate of mine. And every time the Jets play the Dolphins, there's a carton on the line. So we really need to pull this one out. I can't wait.
The stakes are high, Rupert, absolutely. You've got me excited already. Can't wait for Sunday to come. We'll see you down there, and thanks again for joining us on SportsFeva this morning.
Matty, Swampy, have a wonderful weekend. See you soon.
Thanks, Rupert. Cheers, mate. He gets us excited every week, Swamp, when we get him on before the Dolphins Homes games.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking just off air before how we were both looking to go down, but I don't think I can't not go down now. That's an absolutely wonderful way to pump yourself up. Listen to Rupert talk about the Dolphins, and it really is a wonderful atmosphere there. Tune in if you can't get there on that Channel 9 coverage. It is the Dolphins' first game on that coverage, but you can't beat the atmosphere at Dolphin Oval.
The best bet is get there, but put the tape recorder on and watch it again when you get home. Try and spot yourself in the crowd.
Yep, there you go.
That's the go. I've got it planned for you yet again. Dolphins have named the same 17. I'd say there's a few question marks on the fitness of a few of those players, though.
Yeah, Derek Watkins, I think, is a little bit of a question mark over him. He's sitting on the bench. I'm not sure who else.
Matty Hancock, I'd say, be in doubt. Only played about 12 minutes on the weekend. Chris Farrell probably will play, but did suffer concussion as well. So fingers crossed. But like we said, that A-grade team is very strong. Surprise loss to Norse last weekend. They were disappointing, that Fogs Cup team, but fingers crossed they can bounce back, and whoever needs to jump up into that first 17 does a good job for the Finns. Also the Colts travelling along nicely. Troy Lindsay's Colts team very impressive in the first half versus Burleigh. Probably went to sleep a bit in the second half, but still got away with the 2 points.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I wouldn't like to be in that Colts team in the dressing sheds after the game. Cowboy has a way of inspiring his teams, and I dare say they would have been doing a few yards on the park this week after letting him back into the contest late in that second half. Yeah,
it was disappointing. They looked so impressive in that first half, and I was expecting them to run away with it, put on a 50-plus score line, but Burleigh got close in that second half and couldn't kick a goal. If they'd been more accurate with their goal kicking, that could have been one that got away from the Dolphins. So they were lucky in a way, but I guess well done to them doing the hard yards in that first half, setting up the victory there. But you've got to play for the 70 minutes, otherwise you will get beat. Now we'll go bit more into depth what else we've got coming up in the show today, Swamp.
We've, of course, got the Caboolture Lions, our local AFL side, kick off their season this weekend. A huge clash against the defending premiers Nambour. So we've got Peter Smith, the club president, coming on to have a chat about the Lions. They've been working very, very hard on the off-season for about 5 months now. So he's going to tell us all about that and, of course, how you can get along to the game this weekend. We've, of course, got our Over the Moon segment. So if you'd like to try and tip against our good friend Shane Moon and win yourself a $50 Sports Club voucher, phone in 54951015. All you have to do is tell us your tips for the weekend. At this stage, Mooney has been averaging 2 per week, so there's not much that you have to beat there. Of course, we'll do a massive big wrap of all our Moreton Bay swimming stars from the Australian Swimming Championships that have been going on in South Australia at the moment. And, of course, the Kilcoy Race Club has I believe it's the Hibernian Race Day this weekend, this Saturday coming up. Massive day for them after the Australia Day was rained out. So that's their first big meet of the year. We'll have a chat to our very good friend Con Searle. And, of course, we'll wrap up the Shield final with Queensland Cricket Stevie Gray.
Jesus, action-packed, Swamp. I think we'll be going to Golden Point today.
OT for sure.
We better get into it. Here's the song, Australian Crawl now. Errol, 8:15. 19 minutes past 8 here on 101.5. You're listening to SportsFeva with Matthew and Swampy. Now, Swampy, plenty going on in a local AFL this week.
Yeah, absolutely. The Caboolture Lions kick off their season this weekend against Nambour. And I believe on the line we've got club president from the Caboolture Lions, Peter Smith, to tell us all about the game. Good morning, Pete. How are you this morning, mate?
Yeah, very well, thanks, boys.
Always a good time when footy's about to kick off. Now, I believe you guys have been in pre-season training for about 5 months now. How are the boys looking ahead of the big clash this weekend?
Yeah, we're not looking too bad. We've put a lot of work into the younger guys this year, pre-season, and they've all attended the pre-season training and showing some very good signs. So yeah, we're pretty excited about this year coming up.
With the weather how it's been, have you done some swimming lessons, Peter? Because there might be a few puddles around the ground this weekend.
Yeah, we've got the floaties on. The guys have been training with floaties on, so it's all good, yeah.
Now, I suppose the Lions bowed out in the first round of the finals last year, and one of the big problems that plagued them throughout the season was there was only sort of 2 or 3 guys standing up, and when a lot of them got injured, the depth was really tested. One of the big things that I know that you were looking to do this season was really bond those seniors with the younger guys from the 18, so when they were looking to come up, they were going to be ready to slot right in there. How's all that going in the pre-season?
Yeah, look, that's probably been the shining light for us. We've sort of, I suppose what we've done with Graham, our senior coach, is that we've used one voice all the way through, and that's been a common theme, and obviously being assisted by the other coaches. But these younger guys have stepped up, and at our jumper presentation last Saturday, Graham made mention of how well these boys have come through the pre-season, and we're looking at giving us, a lot of them a good run in the senior squad this year. So it's quite exciting times.
Now, of course, the first game, it doesn't get much bigger. You guys are lining up at home against the defending premiers Nambour, who were very, very good last year. Are the boys up for the game?
Yeah, absolutely. Nambour's a very disciplined side, or they were last year, a very, very quick running side, and worked very well as a team. And I think, as I say, with the one voice, a common theme all through pre-season, we've got some tricks up our sleeves to hit Nambour with on Saturday. So we're really looking forward to it, and some of these young kids will get a run on Saturday. The senior coach will announce the side tonight after training, and I think we're in with a good show on Saturday.
Now, I think some of those younger guys did have a run last weekend in the trial against Redcliffe. By all reports, some of them were quite impressive. They did get a little bit of a touch-up by Redcliffe, but there were a lot of young players in that side. Are they really looking good and are going to be a valuable asset in that senior side, especially, I suppose, towards the end of the season where injuries and little niggles start to take their toll?
Yeah, look, we purposely ran the young guys not only against Redcliffe last week or the week before last, but also against University. We gave the young fellas a good run, and they have shown some good signs. Yeah, it was a bit of a one-sided game there, but I suppose there were some shining lights. We've got young Colt Brockman that's come back from Sandgate, and Adam Gordon, also back from Sandgate, is showing very good signs. We've also picked up a guy from out of Tassie, Sam Paino, He had a stint at Aspley last year, and he's come on board as well. So he's only 20, 21, Sam. So these kids, we've got a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are showing very good signs.
Now, I do hear that you can't miss him when he's on the field. That hard-headed midfielder, Brad Peake, has been training the house down in pre-season. How are those? How are the regular guys, the seniors, is probably a little bit of too much of a word to use, but how have they responded to the new guys coming into the side?
Look, very well, and Peaky's been exceptionally good at training, the pre-season training, and one thing Brad has done is welcome the young fellas into the team, and all the senior players. They've embraced it, and Peaky, as you say, is very hard-headed and very good midfielder, and he's been exceptional, and we're looking forward to a big season from Brad this year.
It's always easy to see that bald head popping up and down around the contest. It's fantastic. Now, Pete, just hit us with the details of the game. What time is it on, and where can people catch it?
Yeah, well, it's interesting Saturday. We've actually got our under 18 starting at 10 o'clock. They've got a practice match up against Glasshouse. We've got a combined 18s with Caloundra this year. We've got our resis at 12 o'clock, and then the seniors kick off at 2.
And, of course, that's all at Alexander Bar Oval, just off Beer Barham Road. Pete, thank you very much for your time this morning. We can't wait for the season to kick off, and good luck to the boys throughout season 2012.
Absolute pleasure, and thanks very much. We're certainly looking forward to it. We're celebrating our 25 years this year, so we're looking forward to big things.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for your time, Pete.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Swampy, nothing like round one. Everyone's a chance, aren't they, mate?
Oh, absolutely. The Lions have really done some big things. I've been watching them sort of across those 5 months. Their head coach, Graham O'Brien, has a really, really good football head on him, and it took a little while for the Lions to adapt to his structures, his play style, but the more time they have under him, the better they'll get. And look, they really had a hot run into the finals last year, but unfortunately just fell over at the last post, and they won't be that bad again in the finals this year for sure, and their goal is to get very, very deep into that final series, and with an injection of some young blood into the sides, I think there could be some good things on the horizon for the Lions.
Injuries and a few work commitments really cruelled them at that tail end of the last season, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and they were forced to call on young blokes that they hadn't necessarily had too much experience with the senior side throughout the year, but they've done all the pre-season work, they've done all the training work with the seniors, so the idea is that when those injuries and work commitments pop up, they can grab one of these 16s or 18 guys, slot them in, they know exactly what's going on, and plug those holes in quite nicely.
Now I'm going to spring this on you. We haven't talked about it at all, but AFL season starts this year. We've got to go on record as tipping your premiership favourite, and we'll also text our big Andre Grimaud and get his tip as well. But we will put this down in the Borrow Swamp. Who will win the AFL flag in 2012?
I do hate to flight with the crowd, Matty, but geez, the Hawks have all the right boxes ticked. They've been impressive pre-season. They were just heartbreaking the way that they lost in the preliminaries last year, and with Big Buddy Franklin doing some absolutely incredible things like he always does in the NAB Cup, I think the Hawks will be the one to beat this year. A lot of people are writing Geelong off. They said they're too old, they're too slow, but they said that last year, and look what happened. I think Collingwood will be on the slide, and I hope Big Andre Grimaud's not listening, but I think the Saints might be in for a little bit of trouble as well with their coaching shake-up, but I think the Hawks will definitely be the one to beat.
I'll change the locks at Quest there. You won't get back in. You'll be in big style. I'm going to go a different big bird. I'm going to go the boys from the West Coast.
Yeah, there you go. So Wooden Spoon in 2010, top 4 2011, premiership in 2012.
Away we go, West Coast. I've taken a sneaky double, the West Coast Broncos double, about 150 to 1. So fingers crossed that gets up, and if you do have a bet on any football, make sure you do bet responsibly. Time now from a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back to talk to Shane Moon. It's 8:30 here on 101.5. You're listening to SportsFeva. That was Paul Kelly with all the dumb things, and absolutely no relation to our next guest, who is not a dumb thing despite what his footy tips may present. Shane Moon, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, guys. Dumb things, that's pretty very sensitive this morning, guys, isn't it?
We've changed from Moon Shadow, where you're too far, it's that dark, there's no shadows anymore, and it's Dumb Things now is your theme song.
Mate, I'm just standing in the shadows, just fighting 100% increase on the first couple of weeks tipping, so I've had 100% better off this week, so I'm on fire.
But you still got beat.
Yeah, Mooney, Joe from Morayfield pipped you, mate. She picked 6 of 8, and of course you did get the 100% increase to 4 of 8, so you're doing better. But the Caboolture people here are clued in on their rugby league, mate. You're going to have to pick up your game.
Mate, I think I'm going to have to go cap in hand next time I go down to the Caboolture Sports Club. Chell's going to give it to me, eh?
I was there yesterday. There's a big photo of you, not allowed. They banned you.
It's cancelled the membership.
That's it, gone. We'll grab your tips for this week, Mooney, and see if you can. We're up against Luke this week. Luke, there's Lucky Luke they call him, so I think you're going to be in trouble again. But anyway, the Bunnies take on the Broncos in the West.
Mate, everything's up and down. How do you go? Like, you go get it. South has smashed everyone. Manly got flogged. Mate, I just don't know where to go with this one. Broncos travelling all the way down there to Sydney. South's home game. South supporters. South were on fire last week, mate. I bet Luke went for the Broncos, so I'll go for South just to give us a different one.
I'll throw you in the little bit of information that could be crucial here, Mooney. It's actually being played in Perth, so the home ground advantage might not be as important.
Good to see Mooney does his research for this segment too.
Still with the Souths?
Yeah, mate, stick with South.
Rightio. Now the battle of the West, the Eels and the Panthers. What's happening with your Eels, Mooney?
Mate, we've got a Kiwi coach. That's the trouble. he thinks he's coach at rugby union or something, or he's back home. Mate, what do we do? I don't know. They're struggling. There's got to be turmoil higher up when a club with the talent that Para's got and is suffering the way they are. There has to be some sort of friction, I think, still within the back of house, eh?
Yeah, it looks that there might be a fair bit of infighting there. So, yeah. You're going to tip against them, or are you going to stick loyal?
Mate, home game for Parramatta, and they've lost 3 out of 3. Surely they can't continue to keep playing bad. So we'll give them one more week to see if they can resurrect their souls. Eh?
Loyal, if nothing else. Warriors versus the Titans.
Mate, Warriors are playing good football. Titans just too hot and cold over there across the ditch. I think we've got to go Warriors, eh?
We go with the New Zealand boys. The Dragons take on the Manly Seagulls.
We're talking about hot and cold. Mate, I don't think Manly can back it up. They had a good second half on Monday night, but I think they'll be too strong for the Dragons.
Too strong for the Dragons. Now the Cowboys take on the Sharks.
Mate, I've been sticking pretty loyal to the Sharks, but they've been letting me down too. They've been hot and cold, even though they had a good one on the weekend. But up there in North Queensland, I think Cowboys are pretty good, mate. Cowboys
pretty good. Now from one end of the country to the other, the Storm take on the Roosters in Melbourne.
Mate, Storm down there, and mate, they're hot. How good's that Billy Slater at the moment? He's just a freak. If he's not the best footballer to lace on a boot in the last 50 years or so, mate, no, I'm a monkey's uncle. I think he's an outstanding footballer.
He's freakish in some of the things he can do, absolutely, Billy Slater, and good to watch, and glad he's a Queenslander as well, which is even better.
I was just saying, geez, I'm glad I'm a Queenslander with all the Queenslanders that are firing at the moment.
I know, let's just hope they stay fit come Origin time.
Mate, I was talking about Billy Slater. How was Big Dave the other day with his Billy Slater impersonation?
Yeah, the old grubber through and chase and regather. He's a talented footballer for a big man, and of course announced that he's off to the Titans next season.
Mate, they will gladly need him there, and they get Idris on the field, and players like Dave, they should do all right next year, but I think this year's a write-off again for them.
I thought they needed a halfback, but maybe that's their key. They're going to play Dave Taylor in the 7th.
Mate, the way Dave Taylor's played, he could probably play the centres with Jamal, and they'll be right.
They'll be laughing. Just tidying up the rest of the games, the Bulldogs, who are firing under Desi Hasler, take on the Wayne Bennett's Newcastle Knights.
Mate, you can't go against the Dogs. They are good. I know Newcastle due for a win. Another team that I stuck through for the first few rounds, but they're I think they're a little very disappointing. Bennett will be tearing what hair he's got left out. But I'm going to stick with the Dogs, mate. I think they're performing really well.
And the final game on Monday night, another 2 frustrating teams who are hard to get a form line out of. The West Tigers take on the Canberra Raiders.
Mate, up and down, mate. I reckon Benji and the boys can do it. Up there in Sydney, Canberra probably get a bit cold down there, mate. They won't travel into the warmer weather real well.
That's as good as form line as any, I think, Mooney. So there are your tips for this week. Swamp, do you just want to run through Lucky Luke's tips?
Luke has tipped the Broncos, the Panthers, the Warriors, the Dragons, the Cowboys, the Storm, Bulldogs and the Raiders. So we've got 3 differing tips this week. Mooney's gone for the Eels instead of the Panthers. He's gone for Manly instead of the Dragons, and the Tigers instead of the Raiders. So they're the ones that will decide it for this week.
On fire, mate. And don't forget Bribey Biwa at Bribey this week, not at Biwa, because Biwa's seal got bashed up in the rain last weekend against Caboolture. So it's Bribey Biwa at Bribey on Sunday, 3 o'clock as well, boys.
That should be a crackerjack game. Mooney, we're looking forward to that one. Both had slow starts to the year, but they'll both be better for their runs.
Mate, absolutely. I was down at the Bribey training on Tuesday night. They actually picked up 5 new signings, 3 Kiwis walked in off the street, mate. Bigger than Willie Mason and run quicker than the coal train. So I think Bribey's got a couple of good finds there.
Oh, that's a very couple of handy pickups. And remember, of course, the last time Bribey fired a few years ago, it was on the back of a performance of a couple of Kiwis, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Maybe they should go to Parramatta. They might influence Steve Kearney, eh?
You reckon that's the go? Yeah, you bagged the Kiwis at the start, and now you're the saviour. I don't know if you can have it both ways.
Oh, mate, I'm from New South Wales. I'm always both ways.
That's it. Absolutely, Mooney. Well, the dumb things, that's you in a T. No, we'll see if we can come up with another theme song for you next week. We'll see what we'll find. But best of luck with your tips this week, and make sure you steer clear of the Caboolture Sports Club, because you are a wanted man for giving away all their money.
100% increase on last week's performance. I'm 8 out of 8 this week.
Well, let's see about that. Okay, good on you, Mooney.
Thanks, boys. Thanks, listeners. All the best, and go Para, eh?
Good on you, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, Mooney.
Bye. Bye.
Swampy Mooney, possibly the worst tipster in Australia.
That's a big call. That's a very big call. But look, he's on the improve. If we're going on form here, he could be in for a big one. He's due. That's the very least you could say, isn't it? That he's due.
On his form, I don't know. I think maybe last week that's maybe as good as you get from Mooney. So.
And just reiterating what Mooney said there, the Warragles, of course, taking on the BWR Bulldogs on Saturday at 3 p.m. out at Bernie Foley Oval on First Avenue at Bribey. A very interesting game there. Both those sides have been towed up by the Snakes in the first 2 weeks of the competition, but the Snakes now have the bye this week in the sort of the 3 rounds local derbies that we've been having in the first 3 weeks of the Sunshine Coast Gympie Rugby League. So interesting to see how Bribey recovered. They had a few injuries, but competed for that full 80 minutes. BWR got a bit of a touch-up again against Caboolture, so interesting to see how those 2 teams go against each other.
Yeah, nothing to take away from those guys. You know, the Snakes have been hot in those first 2 games too, and I noticed, I thought he was going to hang up the boots, but a player I've got a real big rap on and who I think could make it easily in the Queensland Cup, Chris Boss, and has played Queensland Cup before, back in that Snakes lineup last week. So we seen him in week 1, add Chris Boss into that lineup. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we took play down the side when we talked to him earlier in the year. There were a lot of outs, a lot of question marks over the players that were fulfilling those positions. They stood up in round 1, and to see a player of Chris Boss's calibre added to that lineup for those new players that have really stood up, it could be big things. My tip that they're going to struggle to get to September is looking a bit poor, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're in strife. But a couple of other Snakes names that we've seen. Arthur Brown's popped up playing for the Kiwana Dolphins. I see Arthur, of course, a Snakes junior, and spent some time down at Canterbury's in their under-20 system, come back to the Dolphins, spent some time in the Broncos 20 system. Was expected to play for the Dolphins this year. Not sure exactly what happened there, but see his name has popped up for the Kiwana Dolphins.
Yeah, just the Dolphins of a different type. That's all.
He might have got confused after. He said, I'm playing for the Dolphins, and rocked up at Kiwana. And also, well done back to the Queensland Cup for a moment, Sunshine Coast Sea Eagles, who had an impressive win on the Channel 9 game on the weekend. So, well done to those guys, led by young Todd Murphy, who spent some time at the Dolphins as well, and some Caboolture guys in that lineup as well, the Klein brothers as well. So, they've done well. And another, just while we're on our former Snakies, Maru are playing for East Tigers this year, so plenty of Snakies around, aren't there, at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely, and of course we say he's a Bribey Island Warragles, but the Snakes do like to claim him as one of their own. Jack Reed, and they're doing fantastic things again for the Broncos there. He had a very, very solid game against Newcastle the other night.
Yep, no, very, very impressive. It's 19-9. Time now for a word from our sponsors. 16 minutes to 9 here on a 101.5, and as we mentioned earlier in the show, Queensland Sheffield Shield champions for season 2011-2012. We spoke to Steve Gray, the Queensland Cricket media man, last week, talking up the game. Steve's joined us again on the line. Steve, we couldn't have predicted how the game unfolded. What a roller coaster ride it was.
You're not wrong. Goodness me. If you said that was a script, you'd be saying, gee, we worked a team of scriptwriters to get that one right, didn't we? It was it certainly had a twist and a turn and a sting in the tail, didn't it? It had everything.
It had absolutely everything, including that last day, which was so many Queensland fans both at the ground and watching the Fox Sports coverage just biting their nails. It looked good there for a while. I actually know a couple of people when Queensland were cruising about 1 for 80, headed down, thought, well, this will be wrapped up in the next 45 minutes to an hour, went to see Queensland come to Shield, and they were there for the next couple of hours biting off their fingernails.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and I think that was the common sentiment. Although I spoke to it's funny, just during the course that everyone was, as it got tense, it was amazing that people weren't moving. Superstition was right, you might say. There were blokes in the Bulls room who were downstairs, had to stay downstairs. They weren't allowed to move. There was guys who were, had gone upstairs into the top level. They had to stay up there. They were pacing back and forth, couldn't get out. It was quite bizarre to see how people handle it.
And we even heard that Captain James Hopes went and done a crossword for about half an hour or so. He was so nervous.
Fans already couldn't see television or hear anything just because he couldn't handle it. So it was, and for someone like James, who that is I've got to say, is a bit of a dynamo. He doesn't sit still. I think that must have been just a fair sign of just the tension that was around the place. And it was strange watching the game. There was a hush. There was people there almost. You could hear the sharp intake of breath whenever a ball went past the edge or someone played around it. And towards the end, there was rapturous applause for 4 defensive shots. It was quite strange, and singles and the like were being greeted like you'd won already. It was a really it was quite surreal. But I've got to say, as a game itself, quality match, and just lovely to see a final that was actually played between two teams, and in the end, whatever advantage it was quite well played out. It had to be won by 2 best teams, and I think that was a really good way to see the season finish.
One of those games where it was almost sad to see a losing team. Tasmania certainly did nothing to disgrace themselves on the day, and almost cruel to see them lose after a fantastic effort. But of course, we were cheering long and hard for our Bulls. And Steve, have the celebrations died down yet? They were going off on the Gabba on Monday night, I hear. Have they quietened down?
Look, they did. They managed to stretch that very nicely well until into Tuesday, finishing sometime late yesterday, I believe. But it's been a bit quiet today, and I think they've taken themselves. They've had a chance to probably catch up a bit now and reflect a bit. And for a few of them, it's funny. It's just a stepping stone to something else. Ryan Harrison's off to the West Indies, I think on Monday. Darren Lehman and Chris Lynn and a couple of other boys are heading off to the IPL this weekend, so it's quite amazing. It's one thing that Darren Lehman did say afterwards. He stressed to all the players just to enjoy that moment. He said, just remember, this is something that won't come around. You may win another time, you may not. He said, this one here together, you blokes, you're gonna savour and remember this. And when as things go on, you're really going to sort of look back and think of this as one of your best times. So it was good. And look, for a lot of those young cricketers, you would hope this is the start of more titles for them. They certainly have shown some potential. Of Joe Burns didn't get a lot of runs in the final, but we saw what he could do during the season. Guys like Wade Townsend basically resurrected their careers. There's been some great opportunities, great stories. Steve McGoffin's another. Someone like Chris Hartley's just shown at the age of 29. Dare I say, some of his best cricket potential is still ahead of him. So I think it's great that we've got some people like that who are really putting their hands up. We're really going to enjoy this next few years, hopefully, for Queensland, and maybe take us in a direction that we're all comfortable with and going to enjoy.
We know as Queenslanders, one thing we don't take for granted is winning the Sheffield Shield. However, have to wait so long to win our first one. But as you mentioned, Steve, so many great stories out of that side. You mentioned a few of them. Of course, young Alistair McDermott was the hero in the first couple of days, and the son of a Queensland legend in Craig. But just the Chris Hartley story is an amazing one. Like he top scored, university probably recognised it as the best natural gloveman in the competition, and may go down as one of the unluckiest players not to play Test cricket if things don't pan out his way.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny. He took over the gloves from Wade Seckham, who was in a very similar position in some ways, a fantastic wicketkeeper, and certainly his records are still sort of there and outstanding, and will be there for a number of years. And Chris sort of did followed his instructions. We did expect some maybe he might have challenged up and got some longer stint or stint in the Australian side, but hasn't worked out that way. He's done it well. He's amassing a formidable body of sort of statistics behind him in terms of his wicket keeping. Look, his run scoring. One thing about him is, okay, he may not put up the big runs, and maybe he's not batting in the top 5, say like a Tim Payne or a Matthew Wade. But man for the occasion, man for tough runs, there's few better. And the way he bats at the tail is really good. He's actually done something really interesting for the Bulls website. He's done a little bit of a piece, basically just how he handled that whole sort of his thought processes and stuff. It's interesting that he had great faith in Steve McGoffin, and he just knew Mags was going to be a bloke who would hang around with him, and he felt that he even said towards the end, Steve McGoffin was so determined to win that he was farming the strikes himself to try to really be there at the net. So that's a great confidence, a vote of confidence in your teammate that you can get together and in both times, like 5 for 50 odd and then 7 for 88, and the pair of them have basically sat and got both enough runs in the first innings and a winning total of the second.
Now, we like to be very parochial about our Moreton Bay locals here, and Cameron Boyce was one of them taking part in the Shield final. Now, I think we need to find the audio and play it back, where you tipped on here last week, Steve, that he was going to prove the point of difference between the two sides, and he certainly did that in taking the first wicket of Ed Cowan on day one, when Tasmania really looked like they were about to seize the initiative in that final and really run away with it. I didn't have a lot of bowling to do in the second innings, but he's, for those young players like Cameron Boyce and Alan McDermott, is this a bit of a dynasty, you think, building for them?
Look, I hope so. I hope, certainly in Cam's case, that he's had 2 Shield finals now, and he's got a sixer in one of them, and he's in this game here, he's managed to pick up a wicket. But look, you're right. If that wicket hadn't potentially fallen there, the first one there, Tassie, someone like Ed Cowan could easily step there and put on a big thing, and that might have really changed the complexion of the game. So that first wicket, it was the first of many, but by vintage it was an important one at the context of the game. And I think with Cam too, look, he's evolving in his cricket. He'd probably like to play more. He'd probably like to get more overs under his belt. And you can't disagree with him there. I think that's something I'd love to have seen if this game had gone another way, and we were deep in a day 5 or something, or late day 4. I reckon Cam could have got amongst them. I think with an extended bowling stint, he really would have done some damage, I reckon, because that pitch was offering a bit. It was brass, it had some good bounce. I think he would have been an absolute handful. But that didn't work that way. It was a day for the seamers, I like, but I still think it was good for him. And Alan McDermott is a great kid, as we all know. He's only a young fella still, but he's taken his game to a new level this year. In all forms, 2020, one day, and now first class. Very, very encouraging for him. He's put extra pace on as well. Look, it might be a bit premature to put him in an Australian side yet, but you know what? I think he's going to have a role to play for Australian cricket somewhere along the line, and hopefully in the near distant future. He's got a lot to offer, Alan, and a very good style of a person too. He really has. He's a quality individual, and he's a good bloke to build a team around. Yeah,
absolutely. I think he'll be one of many of that Queensland side we may see in Australian colours in the not too distant future. Stevie Gray, thanks for joining us on the line this morning, and it's great to be a Queenslander.
It is indeed. It's great to talk cricket as always with you guys. And look, it's funny, we're going into winter now, but I can tell you what, there'll be stuff going on all around the place.
It never stops. Cricket season, does it now these days?
It never stops.
Good on you, Steve.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Swamp, but I was as nervous as I've been for a long time watching that Shield final.
Yeah, my words. It's there were 3 wickets here that had to fall at the end, but the way that the Bulls lost those wickets, I think it was 5 for 5 at one stage. You thought, 3 wickets just wasn't even out of the question for Tasmania, and the Bulls only had something like 50 runs to get, but every single run was a little bit of relief. And I was watching it on the scoreboard on the computer, and I think that's about as nerve-wracking as it can get. So watching numbers scroll up and down the screen.
Yep. It was as nervous as I've seen, and like we were cruising. You said we lost 5 for 4 or something like that, but they lost 1 and then lost 4 for none, which was amazing. And Stephen McGoffin's first ball was a big inside edge that's just missed the stumps. It could have been, 6 for 4 or whatever it was, and we were gone, really, if Stephen McGoffin, because with all respect to Boise and McDermott, not the strongest batting. They bat okay, but their form hadn't been great, and nervous occasion for two young fellas like that. The cool heads of McGoffin and Hartley were what needed, and they got us through, and we can chalk up another victory for a Queensland team. So add it to the Reds, the Firebirds, the State of Origin team. Who I missed there as well? The Reds, the Raw.
Yes, of course. It's a wonderful run Queensland's on at the moment, isn't it?
Let's keep it going, Tom.
Absolutely.
Let's keep it going. Quick song, we'll be back to talk to Cons. It's a couple of minutes to 9 here on SportsFeva. Unfortunately, we're unable to reach Con on the Consul from the Kilcoy Race Club on the phone. No doubt tied up, probably wheeling and dealing a few last-minute details for the races on Saturday. Now, Swamp, let's hope, fingers crossed, that rain hasn't hit Kilcoy and that meeting can go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't wish the luck that the Kilcoy Race Club has had with the weather on anyone. 2 Australia Day meetings rained out in a row, and it was primed for such a big event this year, and it's unfortunately had to get postponed. But they've got the race meets to replace those. So the first of which is this weekend. And you're probably going to know a little bit more about it than I. It is the Hibernian Club Race Day.
This one's been transferred from Bay Desert, which is undergoing a facelift itself. So that meeting is a Bay Desert meeting being raced at Kilcoy. So the first race will be about 1 o'clock there on a Saturday for anyone thinking of going along and grabbing, seeing great days of country racing and also having a famous Kilcoy steak burger.
6 races on the day, I believe. That's
6
right.
races planned for the day, so let's hope they stand up and there'll be bookmakers betting on all Australian races right across the east coast as well, so Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, but let's just hope and pray that rain stays away, Swamp.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, fashion on the field and some wonderful country cuisine cooked by the ladies of the Kilcoy Race Club up there as well. I wouldn't want to miss it for the world.
No, so it's a great
definitely
day out.
Something there for everyone.
Yep, and I've got a couple more meetings to come this year as well, so fingers crossed. Now, Big Andre has just texted, he's given you a spray on Twitter about the Saints on the slide, which I thought he would.
No, he's giving me a spray for the pies being on the slide.
Oh, the pies, was it?
Which is incredible.
Misread it. Yeah,
so, okay. To see St Kilda man's jumping up for Collingwood, I think he's been perhaps on himself this morning. But he has texted through his tips. He's gone with me as well for the Hawks to take out the big bickies at the end of the season. He thinks the Saints will still be up there this year. Top 6 he has tipped, and as a smoky, the Crows to come on through this season. They've been in very good form in that pre-season. The Crows
as a smoky, or what has he been smoking? That's the question. No, I agree. The Crows might go okay. So what are we going between us? West Coast.
And two tips for the Hawks to take out the big one.
Jump on a bandwagon, boys, why don't you?
Anyway,
that's SportsFeva done and dusted for another week. A big thank you to all our guests this morning. Redcliffe the Dolphins at number 1 ticket holder, Rupert McCall, and also Pete Smith from the Caboolture Lions. We also had Shane Moon for his Over the Moon segment, and Stevie Gray from Queensland Cricket, wrapping up the Shield final. Just quickly on swimming, Swamp, any news report?
Yeah, very quickly. Belmere Bullet, Taylor McKeown did wonderful things. She's part of the Australian Cool Swim Club. We have Chris Mooney on here occasionally to talk. She picked up a bronze medal in the 200 metres breaststroke on Tuesday night. Missed a Olympic A qualifying time by 0.01 of a second and missed a silver medal by 0.39 of a second. Only 16 years of age, Taylor. A wonderful performance by her, and ticked off one of her massive goals in that she beat Liesl Jones for the first time ever, and that's her first open age national medal for Taylor. Wonderful achievement. Of course, our other local superstars, Kylie Palmer, Jess Shipper, Mel Gorman, all picking up Olympic qualifications at the event. I think Kylie picked up her 3rd event overnight in the 800 freestyle in ominous form, and Big Jeffy Hugel unfortunately missed out last night in his quest for a 3rd Olympic Games, but the final night of competition is on tonight, so for any swimming fans, jump on to I think it's on about from 8 o'clock to still watch the wrap up of the meet.
No pressure on Colin. I know it's a while away. I think I think she can win gold.
Mate, she is an absolute trooper, Kylie. She's one of the hardest workers in the pool you ever come across, and had a lot of heartbreak through her shoulder surgery. And look, she was quietly confident heading into this event when I spoke to her a couple of months ago, and she's delivered in spades, and she can only get better from here. So keep an eye on her.
We'll follow that closely in the lead up to the London Olympics. We've gone well into a golden point. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back again next Thursday. Stand by now for the local news.